a lighter note, I'm always known for my socks, as most of you know, but have any of you seen the outrageous pair of red ones this guy's wearing? Michael. He's known for his red socks.
Yours are black.
There's a couple of issues.
Great pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and it's wonderful. Wow, what a room. It's incredible to see so many people.
Right, well, and it's lovely to see you too, and great to welcome you. Right when Dragon's Den is airing, in fact, season 9. How's it going?
Yeah, I haven't actually watched it. I find it difficult to watch myself on TV, unlike Duncan and Theo, who have family parties and invite everybody round. I hear and see from Twitter, as most of the updates that I get, it's very good. And I know clearly from the BBC, I don't know whether, I know the BBC are here today actually, but it is, strangely, the largest rated show that we've had out of 9 series. And I think everybody was kind of expecting a slight drop-off. And interestingly, it's actually gone the other way.
I mean, a lot of what comes out in that Twitter feed, because I read a lot of it, is inspiration. And you are a role model to a lot of people that are inspired by the stories that you have as a person, but also your role as a public figure in entrepreneurship. I mean, how do you work with that?
Well, God help everybody that has to suffer that. But it is actually interesting. It's a passion of mine prior to even television starting. In the early days of going through those trials and tribulations that Mark was mentioning earlier of starting a business, I think that television has brought glamour and put it onto our screens as a little bit of excitement. When I first started, the most important thing as a kid when you're growing up, you wanted to be famous for perhaps being a footballer or a singer. It's just wonderful to see that transition, but today, young people want to be an entrepreneur.
So are entrepreneurs the new sort of rock stars?
It's the entrepreneurship is the new rock and roll.
The new rock and roll, very good. You've talked a lot recently about a new idea that you've had, the British Dream. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I mean it's an interesting play on words, but I know that everybody in this room will know what the American dream is. And I think even when I've spent a bit of time out in the States, as I have done doing various things, I clearly realise that there's a real difference in attitude. And that attitude inspired me to think, well actually, what is it specifically that the Americans have that perhaps we don't? And I'm clearly realising now, after doing a fair bit of work on it, that actually it's a cultural issue, and it's a very huge cultural change. So my work now, something that's very important to me, is trying to find ways to inspire a cultural shift in our society.
Yeah.
And I know that this event is all about sort of an upbeat movement, and I think that's really important. But the reality is that those of us today that want to start a business, only 5% actually do.
Yeah.
So I want to try and get into the grassroots of the issues, as Mark eloquently explained, and I've been a big supporter of actually government is there not to fix and help you run a business. Government is there to put a framework together, exactly as Mark described, and that's why I actually think there's now fundamental issues across society that we have to change and fix. And events such as this are great to inspire people to start a business, but the last thing that we want is a surgeon undertaking some form of heart surgery with no experience. There's only one thing that's going to end up, the patient is clearly going to die, and ultimately, if you have no experience to run a business and you start one, it's going to fail.
Well, I mean, talking about the issue of training and of sort of enterprise, if you like, I mean, we've got a room packed here today with lots of young students, many actually from the Peter James Enterprise Academy, so the people that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, learning to be enterprising. What's your message to them?
My message to the students, I've met some of them in the foyer, is be a sponge. Not many people, when you're starting out, actually perhaps give you the guidance that you need, but you've got a great opportunity now to learn for the first time entrepreneurial skills. There's a qualification that we've put together, which is actually the first qualification, 16 to 19-year-olds in enterprise and entrepreneurship. It's a BTEC qualification with Pearson Group. It's a joint venture which has been highly successful, and in fact, out of the several million exams that were taken on across BTEC last year, I was very proud to know that actually our student ended up winning BTEC Student of the Year. And that was without me having to pay off anybody to make that happen.
Are these sorts of skills important, Mark, in terms of sort of the enterprise qualifications, those sorts of things?
I started a slight sceptic about this in the sense that I sort of started to believe that you were either born or couldn't be made in a sense, but I think I was wrong. I think the work that Peter's doing and other people are doing in helping people get to learn about perhaps the finance side and the other aspects of it, because most of us come to a business with a bright idea. And we didn't realise we've got to worry about how to employ people and what they need to do in terms of putting in a tax form and all of that stuff, but most importantly, how to finance the business, how to market. So I think this kind of area is important, and he's also being modest in the work that he's done, and Ollie and others on Tenor Tycoon, for example. We had a glorious moment when, for the first time, I towered over somebody as Peter towers over the rest of us. There were a number of children there who come up with fantastic ideas, and particularly were able to turn £10 into hundreds of pounds. And that's the kind of way in which I think we can really change and open up people's eyes and raise their aspirations.
I mean, obviously the backdrop, Peter, is that there's a nasty downturn going on, very difficult, and in fact, business failure rates are an issue. But is now the right time to be an entrepreneur?
I think it is. I mean, it's interesting, obviously, that those of you starting a business, it's an issue getting funding. I actually have a slight disconnect with regards to, we actually don't want the floodgates to open. I think this is a real time for the banking fraternity to sit back and start to realise that actually there's no good putting good money after bad. So I think the circle needs to come around, and the circle is, it's what I call the education gap in terms of enterprise. I want to see over the next 2 to 3 years the qualification that we've put together, which is, we're learning by doing as much as work by doing, but at the same time I'd like to see that come into our national curriculum.
I mean, is Britain an entrepreneurial country? I mean, you travel to a lot of different countries. I mean, what do you think of your own home nation in that regard?
I think we're inspiringly reserved.
Inspiringly reserved.
and it is different. For instance, the culture in America is there. Let's just go for it. And there's certain levels of failure. I met 2 venture capitalists recently in San Francisco, and they said, "Peter, you're right on our target list. You've had 2 or 3 things that haven't been successful. We love people like you." Whereas here, it's, "Oh, your business. Oh, okay. Didn't go so well. Right. That might cause us an issue. Your credit rating's not that good. Okay." And it's very different.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be changed.
So more of a culture that accepts the journey, if you like, on the highs and the lows, failures and successes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as British individuals, we have a very systemic view on life. And we need to have some sort of cultural change in our society that makes us step up. And that step up is, I think, potentially, for the small land that we are in the global economy, we're an incredibly powerful one. We clearly have the skills and the talent to be highly successful, and as Mark suggested earlier, create lots of jobs.
Okay, we've got time for one last question, if I may. I mean, there's a lot of people here that are aspirant entrepreneurs, probably like to come and meet you on Dragon's Den. What's the best bit of advice you'd give to them about going for it in business today?
I think I would urge anybody. One of the best things about becoming an entrepreneur is one word. It's freedom. And it's freedom to express yourself, but it's also freedom to go and make your dreams reality. And I think that there's nothing more exciting when you wake up in the morning and you actually have no idea where the road is going to take you. And those trials and tribulations, you have to accept them from day one as part of it. But the success that you have ultimately when you come through the back end, I can honestly say you have more enjoyment doing this type of job than any other I can imagine. So I would say go for your dreams.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter James.